The end of the year, honestly, is one of my favorite times because it gives me a moment to reflect, to look at everything that I've accomplished throughout this year. And at the top of this year, I started tracking all of my income, my spending, my debt, my savings, and it allowed me to become 100% debt free by knowing exactly what I was spending my money on. So now that I'm at the end of this year, I am going over all of my finances for the entirety of the year. So here's my 2024 annual finance wrapped. Kind of like how Spotify and Apple Music does like replay and Spotify wrapped, except this is everything that I spent in 2024. I broke this down into 3 categories: my essentials, which are things like my fixed costs, my rent, my car expenses, my groceries, utilities, household items, and the other category is my enjoyment, which are things like my wants, eating out, traveling, clothing, everything that I want to get to enjoy my money and enjoy the life that I'm living. These are things like my haircuts, nightlife, traveling, eating out at restaurants, clothing, and then miscellaneous, which I combined self-care, massages, maintenance, and concerts. I put these in miscellaneous because I honestly didn't spend that much money on that this year, so I just put them all into one. Fun fact, I am a nerd when it comes to things like this. I love data, I love analytics, and the reason why I personally love these things is because I can use this data to then make goals for myself next year and see what areas I want to cut back on. I can also use this as the year goes on to see what I'm spending in comparison to my income. Okay, diving right into my essentials, which are my fixed costs. Overlooking all of these categories, I spent a total of 49.7% of my income on essential fixed costs, which is honestly right up my alley because I try to follow the 50-30-20 budget method, which means that I spend no more than 50% of my income on my essential/fixed costs. If I'm looking over here, that means I'm looking at my laptop, which I have all the numbers laid out in front of me. For my rent this year, I spent a total of $16,612.59. My monthly average was $18.45 and 84 cents. This number honestly wasn't that bad given I do live in Los Angeles and it is a high cost city to live in. Looking at this number, I am considering downsizing once my lease is up, but that's honestly contingent on if I can find a place. It's so hard to find a place that's decent and nice and affordable in Los Angeles, so I'm lightly looking and crossing my fingers. However, I haven't come across anything so far, but I am hopeful. Looking at my car costs, these are things like my auto insurance, oil changes, maintenance, car notes, car wash, and my registration renewal. I spent a total of $3,687.29 for the entire year, which is a monthly average of $409.70. This number is for sure going to go down next year because I no longer have a car note. Thankfully, I paid my car off in full this year. Really happy about that. So this number will be going down next year. I think we underestimate all of the expenses that come with expensing and maintaining a car, but I'm just thankful that I no longer have a car note, so that's one less thing to worry about. Okay, I put parking/parking tickets as its own category because if you live in LA, you know that 8 times out of 10 you have to pay for parking when you go places, and if you aren't checking that regularly, they will give you a ticket. So this year I spent a total of $492.95 on parking and parking tickets. That averages to $54.77 monthly. I feel like next year I'm just gonna make it a goal to get 0 parking tickets to avoid that expense at all costs. I feel like that is the only way to bring this category down. Okay, gas was its separate category because gas in LA is extremely expensive as well. It's about $5 or more per gallon. So this year for gas, I spent $1,201.79 for the entire year on just gas. That averages to about $132.53. I honestly don't have anything to compare this to, but given gas prices are so high in LA, I feel like this is somewhat decent. You guys let me know in the comments below if you spend a similar amount per month on gas. I don't have anything to compare this to, so I'm not really 100% sure, but this is how much I spent on gas. I will say it's really helpful that I have a remote full-time job that allows me to save so much on gas, and for that, I'm really thankful. For internet, I spent a yearly total of $517.96. That averages to about $57.55 per month. That number will probably not be changing next year. For utilities, which is electric and water, I spent a total of $452.86 yearly, and my monthly average was $50.32. Honestly, to be spending a little bit over $50 monthly for utilities is not that bad, so I'm not mad at this number at all. Okay, let's get into some groceries. For groceries, I spent a yearly total of $2,003.46. That averages to $222 monthly. And And again, I have nothing to compare this to because this is my first year tracking all of my expenses. So I think this number is pretty decent, but come next year, it'll be really interesting to see how much I spend on groceries as well. Alrighty, for household items, which are just things that I need around the house, a lot of this stuff is like Target runs, honestly. I spent a yearly total of $802.12 and a monthly average of $89.13. Not too bad. However, I recently implemented like a no spend challenge on household items that I no longer needed. That has really allowed me to just take advantage of the resources that I already have instead of going to Target and like buying things just because I wanted them and I didn't need them. For subscriptions, I spent a yearly total of $316. This averages to about $35.13 per month. Most of the subscriptions that I have are mainly for business purposes and mainly for editing content. So to me, this is definitely worth it and probably will likely be around this range next year as well. The grand total that I spent on essentials is $27,220.96. Alrighty, that is everything in my essentials category. Now let's move on to the enjoyment category. So the total percentage of my income that I spent on enjoyment is 27.2%. That is again sitting right below the number that I want to be at because I want to spend no more than 30% of my income on enjoyment and my wants. So that is just about hitting the goal. For haircuts, I spent a yearly total of $1,200, and that comes out to a monthly average of about $133. That sounds about right because I go for a haircut every 2 weeks, and I try to price it out and budget 2 haircuts a month because, like everything in LA, haircuts are also expensive. Wow, this would save me so much money if I knew how to cut my own hair. However, I'm not even gonna try that because I had a traumatic experience trying that one time and it did not go well. For restaurants, which is specifically sitting down at restaurants to eat, I spent a monthly total of $2,214. That averages to about $246 per month, which is, I guess, a little bit over my monthly budget of $150, which is really good to know because, for example, for next year, if I wanted to cut down on restaurants and eating out, I can give myself a $200 monthly budget, or I can say, this is what I did last year. Let me just give myself a $250 monthly budget for eating out. For drinks/nightlife, I spent a yearly total of $869. My monthly average was $96. This includes things like entry fees to going out, drinking at a bar, and nightlife. I honestly gave up drinking for the month of October and November, so this honestly really helped bring that number down. For travel expenses, which includes all of my expenses that I incur while I'm on a trip, flights, airport parking, food, hotels, I spent a total of $4,602 and a monthly average of $511. This number is honestly good to know because it gives me an idea of how much I need to maybe put in a travel fund for next year. I did go to Cabo this year for my 25th birthday and it was an amazing experience. Definitely do not regret it and would go back. And I also went to Greece and Italy. So this just gives me an idea of how much I need to put away and how I can plan in advance next year for traveling. For clothing, I spent a total of $1,741 on clothing. That averages monthly to about $193. I feel like this will probably go down. I don't plan on really indulging in too much consumer culture next year. I do want to do a closet clean out and really only have essential clothing that I'm wearing. So I don't plan on doing too much shopping. However, we will see. That might change. Alrighty, for miscellaneous things like concerts, self-care, maintenance, I put this all under miscellaneous because I honestly didn't spend much money on maintenance like my nails. So I categorized all of this under miscellaneous. And for all of this, I spent a total of $2,075, which is a monthly average of $230. For Uber and Lyft, I spent a total of $1,181. That averages to about $131 monthly. This number definitely will be going down next year because I didn't know this, but one of the benefits at my full-time job is they give us a $200 monthly credit for Lyft. And I didn't find out until the last quarter of this year. Like, that's insane. Because of that, I foresee these Uber and Lyft costs going down immensely. I probably won't even have much of an Uber/Lyft cost next year. And as of Uber Eats, she's dead. Deleted. Postmates, gone. I don't order from food apps because I feel like they just add up. And if I'm going to budget eating out and spending, I'd rather like go to the restaurant, have that experience, and do that in person. First off, the fees are just insane. And second, if I'm gonna eat at home, I might as well just cook. Even if it's groceries, if it's something that's super small, I'd rather do that. For healthcare, which is dental, I did get Invisalign this year, which is why I'm probably talking so stiff in this video because my teeth are really tight at this moment. I did get a new pair of glasses and I did get some contacts. So for healthcare, I spent a total of $1,849 this year and a monthly average of $205. Because I got Invisalign this year and I paid it off, that was extremely high. So I don't see this being this high next year. I have new glasses, so I'm not gonna get new glasses this year. I probably will get my teeth whitened once I get my Invisalign out. So that probably may be a cost in the future. But this is really insightful to know because that's something that I can eventually plan for. Okay, moving on to my yearly grand total. This year I spent a total of $42,428. Again, this year specifically, I'm not using this data to compare it to anything because I don't really have any other years to compare it to, but it's just really insightful and really good to know what I spend in a year. I really am a nerd for like things like this. I love looking at data. I love looking at analytics. I love seeing the numbers and all of the logistics. It really allows me to better set goals for the next year. For example, next year, since I am now 100% debt free, one of my goals is to save 6 to 12 months of my essential costs in my emergency fund. And knowing these numbers can really give me insight on where I can cut costs in order to accomplish this goal. Another goal for next year is just to automate the process a little bit more, put 20% of my paycheck automatically into my savings when it comes. And now that I'm 100% debt free, I want to do more guilt-free spending. I want to enjoy my life and enjoy the fruits of my labor. I feel like at the end of this year, I really sacrificed a lot just to become 100% debt free. And I'm really glad that I did that because it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about discipline and it really boosted my confidence when it comes to setting goals and accomplishing them. And now that I know that I can do that, it's also important to enjoy life and have guilt-free spending as well. If you found this video interesting, make sure you hit that subscribe button for more finance content. And also let me know what financial goals you have for next year. I feel like now is the perfect time to reflect and to set some goals. If you want to track your spending, I have my 2025 monthly finance tracker that I will link in the description. If you want to track your spending and do something similar to what I'm doing now, at the end of next year, now is the perfect time to download my 2025 finance tracker, which I will leave in the description below.